when you're investing with other people's money, you're literally creating money out of thin air. Say you have access to a HELOC and your HELOC is just sitting there doing nothing. You're almost doing a disservice to yourself.
Yeah,
because you can utilize that to print money, basically.
Whereas before, you had a HELOC doing nothing, just sitting there.
Right.
But now you just created money for yourself.
Right.
With money you didn't have to work for. How do you fund deals? So you have a deal locked up in escrow, ready to go. You have to perform. How are you going to buy that property? How do you fund deals?
So us as investors, I think there's 3 ways that we typically will fund a deal.
Okay.
Right? The first one is with a non-traditional hard money loan.
What? Okay. That's an asset-based lender.
So it's a hard money. So hard money loans are high interest, short-term, asset-based lenders.
So what that means is they're not looking at your credit W-2s income verification in order for you to qualify to purchase a home.
Well,
what they're looking at, they do pull credit, but that's not the main thing they utilize to qualify you for the purchase.
Correct.
They look at the home itself. So what its current value is, what you're going to do to it, and what it will be worth when it's done and you can sell it. That's really what they look for.
And they're lending a certain percentage.
Mm-hmm. What is that percentage usually?
So normally hard money lenders will go up to 75% if you have some experience
of
your ARV.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole loan has to be wrapped into that 75%.
So let's just say your ARV in Hawaii, $1.5 million. When I'm done with this house, I'll be able to sell it for $1.5 million. That means that your hard money lender will only loan you a total, everything, of $1.125 million.
So your rehab plus your purchase price
has to be below
that number.
That or below.
That is like a max
LTV.
LTV, right?
Mm-hmm.
So most of the times when you're getting started, you're only getting, up to 70%.
Yeah.
Sometimes 65.
I feel like we've gotten 65 when we first started.
Depending on some of the lenders. But
another good indication is if your hard money lender won't do LTV of 75%, not having nothing to do with your experience, but just on the deal, it probably means you don't have such a good deal. True or false?
Well, if you can't fit in your purchase price and your rehab cost into whatever leverage the hard money lender is willing to give you, then it's probably not a good deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so that's hard money. We use them all the time.
Right.
I feel like 90% of our deals, we use hard money. There's so many out there. Google hard money and you'll find hundreds. Like there's so many.
Right.
Not all lend in Hawaii. A lot do. Not all
are created equal.
Yeah. Not all pull credit.
Right.
Majority do. Not all require appraisals. Majority do. Some will go up to 90% of your purchase price. That's kind of what we're getting right now. So if we're buying a property for $1 million, they'll fund $900,000 of that purchase price. Majority will fund 100% of your rehab. So altogether, what the loans we're kind of getting right now from hard money are 90% of purchase and 100% of rehab. Those two figures have to equal 75% of your
ARV.
Of ARV.
The thing to note on that is that we have a bunch of experience. So that's why they're willing to give us that much leverage and go up to 90% purchase price.
That doesn't
100%.
happen at the beginning.
Right. Normally in the beginning, you're only getting probably 80% of your purchase price and 100% of your rehab cost, as long as it fits within that model. So there are some hard money lenders that will actually wrap your interest payments into the loan. which means typically
you have no interest only payments, and that's
right.
Sweet.
Right.
Why is that sweet?
That's sweet because on our first deal,
because we were dumb as hell. You just don't know what you don't know.
You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
Right. So when you get a hard money loan, every single month you have an interest only payment that has to be made to the hard money lender.
It's a mortgage. It's
Right.
100% a mortgage. The only difference is you didn't have to use your income to qualify, and it's interest only payments versus principal and interest.
Correct.
That's the primary difference.
Right.
So if you take out a loan for $1 million at 10% or 9%, you're going to have a $10,000 on average monthly interest only payment that you have to pay to your hard money lender for the duration that you own that property. So that goes into a whole nother thing on how you raise that and how you fund that. But it's a good caveat into private money.
Right. So if you noticed, we mentioned that we're only getting a certain percentage of the purchase price.
Yeah.
Where the hell do we get the other percent?
Yeah.
Right. So if we're getting 90% of purchase, or some people are getting 80% of purchase, there's still 20% that you have to come to the table with to close.
Right.
That's where the other way to purchase properties comes into the mix, and that is with private money.
Private money lenders. So private money lenders are people. Really.
Mom,
Dad,
pop,
uncle,
friend.
brother,
I mean, maybe sometimes you don't ever know them.
doctor, or friend of a friend of a friend, or somebody on social media. They come from all different places, all walks of life, but it's essentially people that are looking to make their money work for them and receive a double-digit interest rate backed by a hard asset,
Right.
which is the house, which is the real estate itself. That's what a private money lender is. They have money sitting, whether it's in a bank, in a HELOC,
and
in
a life insurance policy,
in retirement policy,
IRA, a 401k.
right? Even liquid stocks and bonds that they've been able to borrow against. I mean, there's all kinds of ways that people have money sitting and they want to make it work. And we've seen people use all different kinds, but it's just they want to get a double-digit return on their money and make it work. And a lot of the lenders that we work with, they like seeing the transformations.
They love seeing the transformations, and typically there's a couple of different lenders. There's the one private money lender that wants to be totally hands-off and passive. They're just looking for a passive investment where they can make a double-digit return on their money, and they have to do absolutely nothing. They don't want to be bothered. They want true passive income. The other private money lender is the person that is interested in potentially getting into the space.
Right. They want to learn.
They want to learn the process as it goes. So they're a lot more hands-on. They want updates. They want to know how you're doing, what you're doing, and meet the people that you're doing it with.
So we offer that, right?
Right.
So for the people that just want to be passive, they're like, nope, just make my money work for me. We love those kind. For the people that want to learn, we peel back the curtain and we use what's called Slack channel. So all of our correspondence during the entirety of a project goes into this Slack channel, and we add them to it, and they're able to see all of the correspondence, all the headaches, all the wins, everything. We can meet them at projects and walk them through. They get emails and they feel very involved, and they learn from just seeing what goes in and out on a day-to-day basis of the life of a project. And they're also getting an interest, they're making money
making
while
money,
doing.
right.
So it's kind of the best way, we feel like, to get into real estate. If you're kind of don't want to do it on your own, you have some money and you're just trying to figure it out, be a private lender.
Yeah, be a private lender and find somebody that is willing to do what we're willing to do. And there are a lot of people out there.
Yeah.
So,
but they're secured through what's called a promissory note, which is an IOU between, let's say I owe you $50,000. I'm going to pay it back on, on or around this date. This is the amount, et cetera, et cetera. It's a glorified
this is
IOU.
the interest note. This is the interest rate. This is when I'm going to pay you back. This is what, this
and then you can also use a secondary instrument called a mortgage deed, which secures that IOU to the asset itself. So those are the two things that are involved with private money. And
it is important to note, you should be very open and upfront with your private money lenders and figure out what it is they want and the level of involvement that they want to have.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a conversation. It's a relationship. I think that's what's important to remember with private money is they aren't huge financial institutions. They're human beings. And it's for you and I specifically, it's like we want a long-term relationship. We want people that trust us, that can text us, that can call us, that can literally, I want to be working with you for a decade.
Yeah.
I want to make money with people that we are building wealth together.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so typically in these transactions, we're utilizing a combination of both of those things.
I also want to say something else about private money. So there's also two kinds. There's the ones that are involved, and then there's ones that are truly passive. And then there's also ones that are short-term private lenders, and then there's ones that are long-term private lenders. So we have lenders that are committed and lending on our deals for 3 to 5 years at a time. And they receive legitimate mailbox money. They get a return, their interest-only payment every single month for years. And it's all based off of what you want. There's some people that just want short term, in and out, 6 to 12 months, make their money, and then they have the option to invest it where they choose again. Or you have those other people like, no, I don't want the turnover. I want to park it and just send me a check.
Yeah.
So there's options also.
Totally. And the long-term lenders are normally, for us, lenders that have lent on a couple of projects. They understand who we are, our experience, they trust us. And those are the people that really understand how money works, right?
Yeah.
Because in the end, the longer they leave their money in,
the more money you make,
the more money that they're going to make.
Yeah.
And so they just want to set it and forget it.
Yeah. They just want you to send me a check. Okay, great.
And so I think another thing is interesting to talk about as far as private money is the two ways that people want to get paid, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we get this question all the time. And typically, how do people get their payments is what they ask.
Yeah.
So the first way that we do it, and we do this with the majority of our private money lenders, is we will pay them out on a balloon payment.
So that means when we go to sell the property on the back end, so we bought it, we renovated it, we listed on the MLS, it gets sold. When we receive the final money from the sale, that's when they also receive their principal back and their interest.
Right. Their principal and interest gets paid out at the sale.
At the end, very end of the project.
Right.
Yeah.
And then there's other private money lenders, and typically these lenders are utilizing a HELOC. Most of the time is these lenders are utilizing a HELOC and they want to be paid out monthly.
Why?
So they want to be paid out monthly because they have to make a payment monthly.
Yes, to their HELOC, to their
HELOC,
bank.
right.
Yeah.
So with those lenders, we'll pay them out their interest every single month, and then when we sell the house, we pay out the rest.
Yep.
So it's a monthly payment and a balloon payment.
Yeah. So it's just, it's situation specific and it's source of money specific.
Right.
A lot of people that have money sitting in a savings account, they're like, I don't care. Just pay me a balloon at the end. Like you said, people with HELOCs, they have a monthly payment that they now have to make. But I thought it was really cool. We did that. We had a call with a private lender.
A couple days ago.
I think it was yesterday.
Was it yesterday?
I don't know.
I don't
What
know.
day is
It's
it?
been crazy.
Monday, I think.
It's Wednesday.
It was on
I think.
Monday.
Yeah.
And their source was a HELOC. And in the conversation, we brought up just the basic foundational concept of other people's money. And that
Right.
other people's money is any source of funds that you did not trade your time for. Right? So like
Correct.
the money that is in a savings account, majority of the time, you went and performed or spent time doing something and got money in return, and you allocated it towards your savings. So you traded time for that money. It's you worked for that money.
Right.
Anytime you use other people's money, it's the opposite. You did not trade time. You did not trade like work for that money. So it comes in all different types of forms. So other people's money are HELOCs,
Yeah.
our credit cards, are just like any. Can you explain
No,
that
you
better than
explained
me?
it perfectly. I think
Okay.
that's exactly it. But I think to note is just how powerful that is.
Yeah.
Is when you're investing with other people's money, you're literally creating money out of thin air.
That wasn't even yours.
It wasn't yours to begin with.
You're using
Right.
other people's money to create money for yourself. And
Exactly.
that concept is so powerful.
Well, when you understand it, you realize that if, say, you have access to a HELOC and your HELOC is just sitting there doing nothing.
Is that your money that you worked hard for, or is that the bank giving you a loan on your equity? So is it the
It's
bank's money, or
unrealized
is it your
equity.
money?
It's turned into a HELOC. It's the bank's money.
It's the bank's money. You
Right.
still have to pay it back, right? It's
Right.
not yours. Really, it's not yours.
Right.
That's why it's other people's money.
Right. But in that same sentence, it's like if it's sitting there doing nothing, you're almost doing a disservice to yourself.
Yeah, you are.
Because you can utilize that to print money, basically,
Yeah,
right?
no.
So say your HELOC is at even if it's at a 4.5% interest rate,
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
If we have opportunities between
10 to 12.
10 to 12%, you're basically taking that money and making that spread so that 5% is basically just getting created out of nowhere.
Whereas before, you had a HELOC doing nothing, just sitting there.
Right.
But now you just created money for yourself.
Right.
With money you didn't have to work for.
Totally.
Yeah, you went and bought a house, but would you have been able to utilize that equity
Realize
otherwise?
that
or
equity.
You would have used your HELOC for something that depreciates or you can't get back, and then you just put yourself into debt because you have to pay it back, versus using that HELOC and investing it for a higher interest rate. You're literally, like you said, printing money and creating money from something that you never had before.
Right.
It's literally an amazing wealth building strategy, and that's why a lot of our lenders do it.
Right. So, okay, so we could talk about that whole
Forever.
thing
I feel like that
but-
gets us the most pumped because
Yeah.
I just know a lot of people, once they understand the concept and change their thinking about money, they can change their life.
Yeah. So,
We use a combination.
we use a combination of both.
Yeah.
Okay, so 99.99999% of our deals, we're using a combination of both. The other way that we do it is with just private money alone.
Right.
Right? So typically we're going to use hard money for 90% of the purchase price, 100% of the rehab cost, and then we're going to bring in that 10% from the purchase price through private money.
Yes. So
We also have to raise additional money
Yeah.
aside from just that 10%, and that you can talk about that.
So when we bring in a private lender to fund the difference of funds needed after hard money does their portion, it's called gap funding. So
Correct.
What is gap funding? Essentially, it's anything needed to fund the entirety of the project.
From start to finish.
From start to finish. So gap funding includes the down payment you need, because hard money funded 90%, you need 10%. It also includes closing costs, that you incur when you're in escrow. You always have to pay closing costs. It also includes if you have to pay for anything during escrow. So some of the things you have to pay are
insurance,
property insurance. A lot of the times you might need to get an appraisal. A lot of the times you might need to get a survey. All those things cost money. Where are you getting it from? We also have a contingency fund of 10% of the renovation cost. That falls into gap funding. So it's a wide array of things that fall under gap funding, but that's what it is, and that's what private money is used for. Also, what's raised during private money
interest-only payments
are your interest-only payments to your hard money lender. And we always raise 12 months worth. I never, from experience, raise less. I always raise 12 months. Do our projects last 12 months?
Not typically. Typically, our projects run from 6 to 8 months, but we always raise 12 months worth of interest-only payments.
Correct.
Because it's always better to be safe.
I would rather have it and not need it, and then it just goes right back to the lender, right?
Correct.
At the sale, versus need it and not have it.
Right.
And scramble.
And you guys, yes, people are going to say, oh, yeah, but then you're going to have to pay that much more interest. And,
Rubbish.
Right. But if you're buying a good enough deal, right, that should not matter at all. And we're in the game of being very, very conservative. That's what it comes down to. And you don't want to get caught with your pants down. So anything and everything can happen in a renovation. And if it's always better to have it and not use it, than to not have it and need it.
Yeah.
Right?
It's very stressful. Been there, done that. I never want to put myself in that type of situation again, because it's just like you said, it's a safety net. And people should respect that. Your lender should respect that and know that you're doing all of your due diligence. And it's our jobs as investors to mitigate risk.
Right.
And raising 12 months worth of interest-only payments to a hard money lender is exactly how you mitigate risk. One way.
Yeah. I think one last thing I'll add to the gap funding pool, which is also a very important thing, is so with these hard money lenders on their construction holdbacks.
Oh, this is good. Yeah.
Typically how that construction money works, you have to do the work and then you get disbursements of those funds.
So you are get paid in arrears.
In arrears, right. That's what it's called. So what we like to do is raise the very first payment
to get the job going
to your contractor in the gap funding pool.
Yeah.
You need to do this so you can get the job started. You get the everything on the first draw knocked out. Mm-hmm. And you can pay your contractor for that.
And then it starts revolving, but you need to front the first payment.
So you have to raise that in the gap funding.
Yep, exactly. So gap funding, again, is private money used to fill the gap between what hard money provides and the amount you need to do the deal.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
So the other way that we also fund deals is with just private money, right? And
that's my favorite.
We'll talk about like benefits and what's the opposite of benefits?
Cons.
Well, pros and cons, right? Of using just private money.
Yeah.
And let's do pros and cons of hard money and private money, right?
Okay. Let's do it.
Okay. So private money, and Tristyn just said we love to use just private money because of how freaking easy it is.
Yeah, it's just more of an ease of transaction. You're dealing with a person versus a financial institution with all these underwriters, and you're not a person. You're just a loan number.
Exactly.
And you have more control over the funds, so there's less delays in the process of doing your renovation. Just like you said, when you do construction draws and you're dealing with hard money, you have to submit, and there's like a week that goes by.
Sometimes longer. Like some companies need an inspector to come out, look at the work, approve it, write a report, send it back to the lender, and then they release your funds. So Private money, you have access to that, you can use it as you please, right?
Well,
so projects.
As it pertains to the construction, if your contractor is done with the work and they're ready for a check, you have the funds and you pay it and you keep the job moving versus waiting for hard money to release funds. So that's the main reason. But another pro is because I like dealing with people. I like making local people money. I don't necessarily love making huge financial institutions money that just see us as a loan number. I like building wealth with actual human beings.
Right. I think that's probably one of the biggest. I mean, those two things are huge. And I'm trying to think of any other pros. I mean, it's super easy.
It's just the ease
less
of
red tape. You can close really quick.
You don't have to pay points
to
a hard money lender.
Fees
or
to the hard money lender.
If you do pay fees, it's like super nominal.
Minimal
versus
fees.
2 points to a hard money lender versus a flat fee or something like that. If it's negotiated that way, it's just the ease of transaction. You're dealing with people and the project's able to move quicker because you have access to the construction money right up front.
Right. So I think one of the biggest cons is with private money lending there, and there really isn't very many cons.
Not many.
The only con is it's difficult to raise massive amounts of money. So we're on Oahu, and our median price point is over $1 million. It's over $1.1 million, I think now.
Yeah.
And so if we're buying a house at say 700 and we can sell it for 1.3, we need to put in 200 grand or 180 in the renovation. We have to raise the purchase price of 700 plus all the additional fees that go into it. So just let's say in that example, you need to raise $900,000 privately. That's a lot of money, right? So typically, maybe you'll be able to do that, but you're not going to be able to scale that very easily or quickly until you find your sugar daddy that has...
Which we're still trying to find one.
Right. So I think that's the only con. It's being able to scale a business by just using private money.
It's hard to raise enough money to fund a deal 100% with just private money because of the dollar amount involved in Hawaii.
Right. And you think about like us as an example, and we have 8 projects going on right now. That's
millions of dollars.
Tons of money out, right? Our average projects we're purchasing around $1 million.
Yeah, I'd say between like 8 and $1 million.
Right.
And our average renovation is $250,000.
So I mean, you do the math. That's a lot of private money to be able to lend. So that's why we do hard money and private money, because a pro, and we'll talk about hard money pros.
Are we pivoting?
Yeah, I think we're pivoting to hard money and the pros for hard money. It's a lot freaking easier to find.
It's a lot easier to find because they're bountiful. They're everywhere.
There's tons, right?
Yeah.
And you are able to do multiple projects at one time utilizing hard money. It's easier to scale a business.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
You can place the private money funds into multiple different projects.
Yeah, they're in the business of lending money. It's all they do.
Right.
So that's the only way they make money, right?
Yeah.
So that's a pro, is that they're everywhere and that's all they do.
Easy access.
Every single day, all day long.
Right. What's another pro?
Another
for
pro
hard
is that
money?
they are an asset-based lender, that there is a product for investors like us out there that we can buy properties with none of our own money and utilize a lender that gives you 90% and 100% of a rental. That's
totally. I mean, we get asked all the time. This is like the number one question or the number one hurdle from people getting started is they're like, yeah, but I don't have any money. Or how am I going to buy it? I got to save up for like 10 years for a down payment, or you know what I mean? So hard money and private money is what helps us be able to buy these properties, right? And understanding that. And so I think hard money is beautiful, right? They don't care about
hard money.
They don't care about how much money I make every month on a W-2.
No.
Right?
No.
So you can have very little,
if not any.
Any income or assets, or maybe you have some debt, right? Like a normal bank will not lend you.
Note to everyone, we didn't make a lot of money and we had a lot of debt when we started investing.
Right.
I did not. We had maybe like $10,000 in savings. Like, come on, you know?
Yeah. And $80,000 in debt.
Right.
Right. So they still gave us a loan, right? A hard money loan.
Over $500,000.
Right.
You know?
So it's just it's a product built for investors.
Yeah. And I think that's the biggest pro is the accessibility of it. And then the product's even there. It's so dope.
Right.
Cons.
Okay.
Cons they're not all created equal, and some can be very difficult. We say all the good stuff, right? The cons are some are very difficult to work with, where it should be an asset-based lender. They pull credit. They ask you for tons of paperwork every single time, which is frustrating because your entity didn't change, just the deal changed.
They want appraisals.
And I feel like in the industry right now, just in general, appraisals are backed up and delayed. In Hawaii, on an island, it's even more so.
Yep.
So they ask for appraisals, and it could delay how long?
Closing times.
Yeah.
Yep.
Points, they sometimes can charge you a lot of money just to borrow it up front. So upfront fees. A point is 1% of your purchase price. So if you're purchasing a $900,000 property, and they're loaning you $800,000 and charging you 2 points. 1 point is $8,000. 2 points is $16,000.
Right.
You have to pay that. Those points you raise in gap funding. So everything eats into your bottom line.
Mm-hmm.
So
cons are also the fact that they do construction holdbacks, right? So there is a process that you have to go to release those funds to you.
It's regulated, right?
Right, it is.
As it should be, but some processes are easy, some are not. Some you can take pictures and videos and submit them, and you're dealing directly with the lender or the draw or the fund manager itself, and then it's easy. You get your funds in like 2 to 3 days. Other times, you have to go into a website portal. You have to submit all the paperwork.
Third-party inspection company.
Then they hire a third-party inspection company, so like another person that comes out to your job site on their availability, verifies what you're asking for, that the work's actually been done, writes a report, sends it back to your hard money lender. Then the hard money lender processes the paperwork and then release funds.
Right.
That can take a long time.
Totally.
So... it sounds like it's a lot of negatives, but we use it all the time. And I think we would
not be at where we are today without hard money.
The magic is finding the one that you work well with.
And you vibe with, right? The person that is in charge of your loan, right? You want to be able to be on the same frequency as that person.
Yeah, you want responsiveness. You want respect. Again, it's a relationship thing. You want to trust how they do their business. You want a smooth transaction. We always look for ease of transaction. I'll pay more points and more interest any day to hard money if they're the easy button for me. And I know you agree.
Yeah, I think one more thing to note about hard money is there are 2 different kinds of hard money, right? Hard money lenders. So a lot of times, and you want to know this, right? If you're dealing with a hard money lender that has their own funds, or you're dealing with a hard money lender that is a broker,
to
right?
Wall Street, essentially.
Right. And essentially what happens is that broker is going to where the funds are, or the fund.
Yeah.
And they're just being the middleman in the transaction.
So you kind of want to find that lender that has their own funds.
You do.
Or
100%.
a combination.
Right.
So ours that we use, usually it's a combination. They have their own pool of funds or they broker it out. And you just want, it actually gives more credibility to the hard money lender if they have their own funds because they have more control. They're not trying to, there's less restrictions for them because they're not answering to somebody above them.
Right.
Yeah.
Time is, everything happens a lot quicker. You're not going through a middleman, right?
I mean, they can look at the deal and say yes or no in like 24 hours versus getting all your paperwork, submitting it to the third party, waiting for them to look at it, then coming back to you. And then, you know what I mean?
Right. And just for the sake of saying it, there are some benefits to dealing with a broker. A lot of times,
they can shop it.
Right. The broker can shop for the best interest rate. They can.
They have relationships.
So they might get better rates
with huge funds,
with the bigger funds.
Yeah.
And a lot of times these huge funds won't even deal with like a small time, onesie, twosie flipper.
Like
so
us, yeah.
you might not have access to
Right.
them. So there are some pros. Obviously you're going through a broker, you're going to have added fees because that's where the broker makes money, right?
Yeah.
Like there's going to be additional cost to it. So I think you have to really weigh out your specific situation and find a hard money lender that you love their vibe, their process. That's super important. And
their
then
responsivity.
Right, their communication. And
if they come off as a douche, don't work with them.
Don't work with them. Yeah. The thing is you don't feel forced into using a lender. There's so many different lenders out there.
Well, always be trying to find new ones.
And always be trying to test the waters.
Be a good business owner.
Right.
Be a good I don't know the word that I'm looking for. Not consumer, but is it consumer? Yeah. Be a good
consumer.
Be a good consumer and do your education. And you know how they say you get 3 quotes? Go and get 30 quotes from hard money lenders. Always be talking. Always be asking questions. We have never stopped looking for hard money.
No.
Ever.
No.
I don't think we ever will. We have our go-tos, but that doesn't mean that we're going to not use any new ones in the future.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's all good. Get paid.